Hello, good evening. What's everyone saying? Welcome to the United Stand. Guys, I'll be honest, a lot of you might not recognize me. That's beyond the point at the moment. Right now, the point for me is I'm sitting here and I feel like an absolute wally. I feel like an absolute fool sitting here in an England jersey right now because I, like many of you, have just wasted 90 minutes of my life. I'll never get back. I will never get them 90 minutes back. That was a joke of a performance. And I've not had the time to see what, Gareth Southgate and them man have been saying about it, but what can they say? What can they say? The title of this show is Sancho Close. How close does he have to be to get a minute on the pitch? Do you know what I mean? I'm watching that game and it's so glaringly obvious that Southgate's got it wrong. He's got it wrong. And it's mad because you see sort of German outlets and you see German reporters, watching England matches thinking, where's Bellingham? Where's Sancho? Did these guys watch? Southgate ain't watching the Bundesliga. He's not. Do you know what I mean? But look. This is a United show. This isn't the England show. If it was the English show, I could sit here for an hour and talk to you about how crap that performance was. But what we are here to talk about is sort of the never-ending cycle that is the Sancho story. And really just, I want to make it clear, guys, I like you. I'm just very tired of this at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Put your hand up in the chat if you are tired of this whole Sancho Close scenario. Because I personally, I'm a bit tired of it. I am a bit tired of it. Every day we get these same sort of, outlets reporting Sancho's deal is imminent, this, that. Yeah, we know that. But what we don't know is when it's actually going to get done. And I think we all want to sort of, move to that point where the deal is finally done. Do you know what I mean? And so this show, I sort of want to almost act as if the deal is done, right? The deal's obviously not done, but I think a lot of us are pretty confident it's going to get done at this stage. So we will sort of want to say, look, the Sancho deal, it's close, it's going to happen, it's inevitable, whatever it is. What now? What happens after this Sancho deal? Because I actually think the Glazers are really getting away with one. All anyone is talking about in related to Manchester United, for the most part, is Sancho. Do you know what I mean? And they're probably riding high off that. Do you know what? Like, Avram's in Florida on a beach somewhere, with a cigar in his mouth, just loving it. He is loving it. He's searching up Man United on Twitter and all he sees is just Sancho. He's thinking, these guys are clueless. Do you know what I mean? They have spun us so far this window. But what happens next after Sancho? Where do we go after Sancho? Once again, my name's Levin2K. I appreciate all the support. This is my first time sort of, running with the show solo. So I appreciate all the support I've received over the past 48 hours. It's been a crazy ride. A lot of positivity. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of England for one in their performance today. Let me know what you guys think of Sancho not playing, because that to me is just crazy still. Sancho's not played. Let me know what you think of the whole Sancho deal and the saga, because this saga so far has just been, it's never ending. I talked about it on the show the other day when I was with Mark, and I was just saying, like, I wish, as a fan base, we could all just sit there when the deal gets done and go, okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wish we could just not even give it the attention it deserves. And not because I hate Sancho or anything, but just because I don't like the fact that we're giving the Glazers the satisfaction of, they got the deal done. Yes, Mark, he signed and whatever. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to give them that satisfaction. A lot of love in the chat. I appreciate it. Is this my first super chat? Wow, this is crazy. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get some names wrong. You gotta bear with me. It says, sick and tired of the club. Sadly, after following for 17 years, I am at that stage. And look, I can't blame you. I'd never, encourage you to become sick of the club, but it's easy to feel that way. Do you know what I mean? When you've invested so much time and effort and passion towards something, and it feels like the people that own it, the people behind it, don't really care about you. And it's true, the Glazers don't care about you. That's the reality. It's very easy to get to that stage and feel sick and tired. But I advise you to stay optimistic, stay positive, because at the end of the day, this is the club we all love. I want to talk about what next though. What's next after Sancho? Because I think there's quite a few things that need to happen in this window. But what is the order? What is the priority? I think the big thing that people will sort of say is probably further signings, right? Because Sancho isn't enough. I think we can all agree, right? You know, if this transfer window ended with Sancho being the only sort of first team player that we sign, and then a bunch of just, you know, youth players or whatever it is, Tom Heaton, bloody hell, Tom Heaton. You know, if that is the transfer window, is that enough? I don't even need to see what you guys say in the chat. I know it's not enough. Do you know what I mean? So what is next? I think a lot of people would probably say further signings. If you're talking about further signings, right, you know, the positioning, it frustrates me almost that Sancho does seem to be the sort of priority in terms of like the order of what we're getting deals done, because I think it should be either CDM or centre back that we go for first, but it just seems to be the right back. So I think we go for CDM, we go for centre back. We all know the sort of centre back, you know, rumblings at the moment. I think Varane is sort of the lead target. But I'm really concerned about Varane. I'm really concerned about Varane because it sort of seems like we're in a race with a lot of contending clubs. Even with the news about Ramos leaving, it does still seem like Varane is on the way out. But are we sort of competent as a club to be able to get that deal done ahead of teams like potentially PSG, Chelsea, whoever it is? I think there's big doubts there. There's definitely massive doubts there. Bro, Levin, do you sing the blues? I could. I probably could. Not yet. I'm not going to do that for you guys yet. I know a lot of people want to hear me say certain things and sing certain things. You guys are going to have to wait for that. You're going to have to wait for that. But eventually it will come. Ben says, Sterling staying on for 90 minutes is a joke. Should have come off for Grealish, and Foden should have stayed on. I think a lot of people will probably feel that way, right? Like a lot of people will probably feel as if that was the best sort of, you know, substitution. I feel like Sancho didn't even get to play. Sterling played incredibly poor. He played incredibly poor. There were multiple instances where he's running into traffic and I can't believe it, man. I can't believe it. And I don't disagree that Sterling deserved to start. You know, I didn't think he played amazingly in the first game, but he at least got the winner. And so, you know, Southgate was vindicated enough and you know, had the right to start him. But you've got to take him off. He's playing poorly. You've got to take him off. So I definitely agree with you there, brother. Back to signings. I know people are going to have England on their mind. People are going to have England on their mind the whole summer. I'll be honest, guys. I sort of came into the show, right, a couple hours ago. I was thinking, this is going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show because England are going to win. You know, a lot of us in chat, even if you don't support England or you're Scottish or whatever you are, by the way, props to Scotland. You guys, you know, played your hearts out and you got the result you probably wanted. Do you know what I mean? Props to Scotland. But I was thinking we were going to come in, we were going to be buzzing, we were going to have a nice time. Do you know what I mean? But didn't work out that way. And yeah, it's painful. Lots of players underperformed, and it does, you know, sort of hurts that we didn't sort of get certain players on the pitch early enough. What I will ask a lot of people, because I haven't necessarily seen enough people talking about this, because there's much more to talk about in the England game, but since we are a United channel, what did you guys think of Luke Shaw? Luke Shaw obviously got to play, and he played the full 90 minutes. What did you guys think of Luke Shaw in this game? It's weird because it's almost like I wasn't really paying attention to him. I was sort of the whole game just looking at, you know, the front line and thinking, why is nothing happening? And I was sort of also looking at, you know, the midfield. It didn't really feel like Phillips had the freedom to sort of roam forward the way he did in that first game. And I was sort of just, you know what I mean, like all over the place with it. But Shaw, man of the match contender. Shaw was quality. He was okay, average, solid. I think the general sort of consensus is that he was okay. And I think based off of his performance, I do think he deserves to sort of be that sort of first starting left back moving forward. But yeah, I think Shaw was all right. I think the nature of the game meant that Maguire didn't get, you know, sort of any opportunity to get involved. I think it was sort of reported he would get involved, but there wasn't sort of any opportunity of how close of a game. And Rashford came on, but he came on too late, couldn't really have a big impact on the game. So that was a difficult one. That was definitely a difficult one. Moving forward, this is going to be hard. This is going to be hard because everybody wants to talk about the England performance, but we do have to talk about certain things moving beyond just England and even moving beyond Sancho and Man United, because once again, future signings, further signings, beyond Sancho, who do we bring in, right? Is it going to be a case we get Varane? Like I said, I'm not too sure about that one. I want Varane. I think Varane would be great, but it is going to be hard to sort of pull him away, especially if it is PSG who's sort of like leading that race. CDM targets, I don't really see it. Like, who is it that we are sort of going in for? Mark did a video earlier today on certain CDM targets, and all of them sort of were great targets, right? You know, the likes of Ndidi, Rice, all of these people, but I'm not seeing enough reports that there's sort of interest there, or we've approached anyone about it, and that's real concern to me. That's real concern to me, and I think a lot of you should be concerned as well, because a lot of you will probably agree. We need a centre defensive midfielder. We need somebody who can, you know, sit in front of that back four and, you know, sort of, you know, recycle the ball and really just be what we've been missing for quite a while, it seems. You know what I mean? So that's a big concern. And I think, you know, moving forward in terms of future signings and further signings, the fact that Kieran Trippier, this thing is all sort of dragging out. It's not as easy as, you know, sort of we were in and out for Tellez. It's sort of dragging out now, and that's a big concern, because it does seem like Trippier probably has some interest in moving to United, but is he going to be priced out of a deal? Now, in terms of further signings, I want to pose this to you guys. Right? If we were to get Trippier, we obviously have Tom Heaton, Sancho, and Varane. What grade do you sort of give that as a transfer window? Is that an A, a B, a C, a D, an F? Do you know what I mean? Like, what would you sort of grade that in terms of being a transfer window? Because personally, for me, I think it's a B, and I'd give it a B because I think you're giving him, you know, two solid first team players where, you know, you're giving him Varane walks right into the squad next to Maguire, giving him Sancho walks right in. But it's not enough, because I still think we need that DM. I think the DM, you know, any competent DM makes it just an A, right? I think any competent DM works a lot better. Because for me, it's like, I'm actually not even too sort of focused on the caliber of the name of the DM, right? At least with Sancho, it's like it's a blockbuster signing. We bring in Sancho. Varane, it's a blockbuster centre back, somebody who we know. Do you know what I mean? There's no sort of questioning about, oh, is he going to develop into the right centre back? It's like Varane, we bring Varane in and it's 30. Whereas with the DM, I don't need it to be, do you know what I mean, Kante. Like, I don't need it to be this blockbuster CDM. I just need it to be someone who's going to do the job well. Do you know what I mean? And somebody who we know will do the job well. But it just doesn't seem like we're really in for anyone. That's a big concern. That's a big concern to me. We got some more super chats coming in here. Dan Eel says, forget Sancho, get Varane. These players don't come available all the time. It's now or never, and get Zakaria and give Ahmad a chance. And that's another big thing that I sort of want to know from people, right? Because we're obviously massively linked to Sancho. You know, when's Ahmad going to get the time to play? Because you're going to assume that, you know, Cavani starts most of the time up front. Greenwood is going to, you know, sort of continue to play on the right and, you know, maybe come in for Cavani every once in a while. But when's Ahmad going to get the time to play? Ahmad definitely deserves an opportunity to get more game time this season. So that's a big concern, right? That is a massive concern. So yeah, I am incredibly worried about that. I think it is sort of important that we get Varane in as well, because Varane, like you said, you don't get the opportunity to get a player like Varane often. And the same can be said about Sancho. Same thing can definitely be said about Sancho. You can't get a Sancho, you know, he is a generational talent. He's the kind of guy who is going to be a top player in world football for years to come. But yeah, Varane I think is really important. And if the Varane deal gets done, that's it's a positive. It's a big positive. It's not enough like we sort of established, but it is a big positive. So I want to sort of know, you know, what you guys feel about that. The one other thing I think is really important beyond further signings after Sancho, sorting out some of the situations we currently have at the club. So the first big one, I think, the big sort of situation we're dealing with at the moment is obviously the Pogba situation, right? And there was actually a report that came out today. I'm going to butcher the name here. It's from Mohamed Boufassi, who says, Pogba is being watched by PSG. I'm not going to get that name right, but somebody from PSG has met with Raiola in Nice 3 days ago and spoke about Pogba, Baka and Keane, who are Raiola clients. MUFC don't want to sell Pogba. Pogba doesn't want to extend. United asked for 80 million euros. I don't know how, I don't know how to necessarily feel about that. It is sort of a circus, right? In terms of Raiola dealing with him and, dealing with this Pogba thing. Obviously, Pogba said, at the start of the Euros, there's not been any sort of official talks. But to me, if we don't extend Pogba during this transfer window, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's just going to run down his contract. And that's a shame, because if we're not going to sell him, but we can't get him to extend his contract, it's like we're just going to let him walk out on a free again for the second time in a row. Crazy to say that, right? Crazy to say that. But yeah, it does sort of feel like we're just sort of dilly-dabbly. I can't even say it right. My head's all over the place with this England match, but it just feels like we're not able to sort out these key issues. Everything's sort of been brushed aside because of Pogba, or because of Sancho, sorry, because even outside of Pogba, you look at the goalkeeper situation, guys. There was a point in this season where all anyone could talk about is what's happening with De Gea, Dean Henderson, one's leaving, one's staying. You can't have two number ones. But it's like, there's not been as much conversation about that. That still needs to be dealt with. How do they deal with that? Who is going to come in and buy De Gea? What team's going to do that? I don't see a team that's going to come in and be able to pay his wages and sort of sort that out. Do you know what I mean? And then at the same time, do you let Dean Henderson go? I don't know where a lot of you stand on the goalkeeper situation, but I think it's really unfortunate because I don't have a favourite. I'm more loyal to De Gea because he served us well, and I think he deserves the respect. You know what I mean? He was our player of the year for 3 years in a row. Do you know what I mean? And although you can argue there's been a decline, I know statistically, I think it is actually factual that statistically there has been a decline. I still think he's an incredibly good keeper, and on his day, which I don't think is that irregular, he is definitely good enough to be the Man United keeper. But of course, when you have a young, hungry keeper like Dean Henderson, who is also, definitely good enough to be a keeper in the Premier League and a keeper for a top side, it's a very difficult sort of situation. I don't see who comes in for either of them. And so do we go into next season with both of them again as our starting keepers? It's a tough one, because the thing is, right, is that we all sort of, even if you hate Ollie, a lot of you last time were getting on to me saying, Ole. I've fixed that one up for you, yeah. Ollie, yeah, how about that? Even though a lot of people might, sort of hate on Ollie, the one thing you can sort of give him credit for is, or people give him credit for at least, is, his man management, being able to keep people happy. Well, one of the goalkeepers is not going to be happy next season, and arguably both of them, if they're still in this situation, I can't see a situation where both of them are just happy to be pseudo number ones week in, week out. Do you know what I mean? So, are we going to get to the stage where people aren't saying Ollie's the number one guy when it comes to keeping people happy? Because, one of those keepers isn't going to be happy. Do you know what I mean? So that's definitely going to be difficult to deal with. Shravran came in again with another super chat. Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate everyone hanging out. It's pretty late at night, not the regular sort of time for a show, but this show's a bit more chilled. You know what I mean? It's the end of the day. You sort of wind down. I take things slow in my voice and I just soothe you to sleep. Don't fall asleep while watching, but I soothe you in that direction. Chavran says Sancho, Varane, Koundé, Basuma, Neves, Dest, keep Pogba, Van der Beek. That signing of a top club. Now Glazers decide if we are one. Look, I think the big thing is are we, are the people in charge of transfers competent enough to get that amount of business done? Because beyond now, even the Pogba situation, even the goalkeeper situation, and even, further signings, we still need to sell players, right? There's still players who need to sort of make exits from the club. Are the board competent enough to get all those players in, a bunch of players out? I don't know if they are. And there's still players that a lot of people would argue need to be sold, need to be moved on. There's players who, you just expect them to be moved on. Like Andres Pereira, you expect him to be moved on. Same thing for Delo. Arguably a lot of people would probably say Matic and Mata need to be out. And I do think they're past their best. And if they don't actively play an important role in the progression of our squad, they need to be gone as well. And so I definitely see that. I definitely see that. So it's really difficult because I think a lot of us are sort of easily blinded by this whole Sancho situation. But at the same time, it's like there's so much that needs to be sorted out that it's really hard to see a world where it all gets done. Do you know what I mean? Signing more players, because we don't even know when the Sancho deal is going to get done. Do you know what I mean? This could drag out until, late July. So Sancho needs to be done. We need to sign more players. We can't, like, if the board only give Oli one first team player, that is an embarrassment. That is an absolute embarrassment. So we need more signings. We need to deal with this whole Pogba situation. We need to deal with the goalkeeper situation somehow. I don't know how they're going to deal with it, but they need to deal with that because that's just not acceptable. And then you need to let some players go. Yeah. I don't know. I'm optimistic. I'm an optimistic person. I like to stay positive, but come on. You know what I mean? Like, that is just not easy whatsoever. Emil Garcia says, congrats and welcome to the United Sun. I appreciate, once again, thank you for the positivity. I've received a bunch of positivity. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people excited. And I'm excited as well. I'm excited to work with some of the wonderful people on the channel. Genuinely, some amazing people. So I'm looking forward to it. The Lingard situation is another one. Another one. You're right, Tim, right? The Lingard situation is another situation where, how does that get resolved? Mark was talking about the other day where it seems like he's being told by the club that they're going to give him a shot. That scares me, because if Lingard's being told he's going to get an opportunity to play, we must just not be getting the players we think we're getting. Do you know what I mean? Like, something must be going on that is just completely against the grain of what we think is going to be happening. So how do they deal with that? Do you know what I mean? That's a difficult one. Props 11, very good to hear your opinion. Welcome. I appreciate it. Guys, let's play a little game. Let's play a little game for a second. How old do you guys think I am? I want to see what you guys say, because a lot of people get this wrong a lot of the time, but I want you guys to guess how old I am in the chat. Let me know. Travron came in with another super chat saying they are not. That's why the final sign, that's why it's the final sign that we aren't under the Glazers. Look, it's hard. It's hard to sort of come to that, sort of point where you sort of accept that we just may not be where we are. It pains me to say. I don't even want to say that. I'm seeing a lot of numbers here in the chat. 26, 13, 21, 19, 20, 89. Come on, man. 32, 23, 12, 19, 16, 20, 29. Interesting. I'm 19. I turned 19 this year. So, 19, yeah. It's weird because I usually have a beard, right? I shaved my beard the other day. I usually have a beard. So, I think that usually sort of bumps the age up a couple of years, but who knows? Someone in chat's just gone immortal. I may be immortal. There is no limits to my age. There's a good chance that is the one. I sent a chat and you missed it. Oh dear. I apologize. We need to do a total of 12 transfers this window, says Shravran. Realistically, yeah, there needs to be a lot of players out probably, and there needs to be a couple players in. And so you're looking at a big bit of business to be done, and nothing's being done. And some of these players, we could start getting players out the door already. Do you know what I mean? Like, we could genuinely start getting players out the door. Players who aren't necessarily at the Euros, we should be dealing with those situations. Do you know what I mean? We should be dealing with those situations. Players that need to be sold, etc. But it's like nothing's being done. And it's like the only thing we're hearing is actually sort of being done is the Sancho deal. And it is frustrating because, why is it that we can't, sort of get multiple things done at once? Why is it like the board and the people in charge of transfers are just like, we do this one, let's put all our attention on this one, let's bang this one out. They then proceed to fail, they don't bang that one out, and it's like, oh, time's run out. Yeah, sorry guys, time's run out. We will sign Cavani on a free though. Props to Cavani. Cavani was actually great for us. This season, but yeah, it is really frustrating. It is really frustrating. that we just can't seem to get anything done. I give up on the team buying quality this summer. And I don't think you're wrong to feel that way, but at the same time, it is hard for us to get big things done during, the Euros. Like in their defense, those are walking on a tightrope there. But like, if you look at some of the other big clubs in Europe, it's not like, outside of free signings, really, it's not like there's massive amounts of business being done. I think a lot of things will start to unravel after the Euros. So, I'd reserve judgment. I'd reserve judgment on giving up completely on the transfer window. But I would say after the Euros, I'm turning my noties back on for Romano and all them, man, because it's like, that's when it gets real. If nothing gets done, then it's like, we've been failed. And Ollie's been failed as well. Ollie's been failed. If you're an Ollie, I just want to say, Ollie, if you're an Ollie inner, and you genuinely believe in Ollie, and he doesn't get backed, pain for you, because you're just gonna look like an idiot. Sadly. Locatelli is not a CDM. That's actually not really true. Locatelli does actually play as a CDM the majority of the time for Sassuolo, and I do think he'd be great in that role as a DM. I think the big thing is that he is a talented young lad, right? He's a talented player, and so he's shown that he can play a bit more advanced, right? That game against Italy, he was brilliant, and he showed he can play a bit more advanced as a centre midfielder, as a number 8. But, he can play as a number 6. He definitely can play as a number 6. But at the same time, when these sort of things happen, right, you sort of want to look at the balance of the squad. And so, the way I look at it is, assuming we're going to keep Pogba and Bruno, you have a lot of sort of attacking talent there, to the point where you don't necessarily need your DM to be this crazy sort of regista type. Like, you don't need Pirlo, playing as a regista in our system. You need someone who's great defensively, who has, great positionally, who can make progressive passes, because I think having that link between the defense and attack is really important, and someone who can move the ball quickly. But you don't need a Pogba-esque passer in that DM role, but you need someone who positionally they are very aware, and they can just be a great outlet. Do you know what I mean? That's what we're really lacking, because in theory, McTominay played as a defender today for Scotland, as he sometimes does, and he's not awful. He's not awful in that sense, but the big problem with McTominay is that he's not got the best of touches, right? He's not great with his vision. He can't necessarily make those fast progressive passes that you need in the build-up play, and that's his main issue, right? So you need someone who can do that. They don't need to be this crazy Pirlo type player, but they need to be able to do that to a very decent level. And there are people who can do that. The likes of Ndidi, the likes of Zakaria, the likes of Basuma, even though Basuma, again, is almost similar to Locatelli in the sense where he's probably best used as a number 8, as a box-to-box type guy, but he can do that role well. And it's funny because you watch Fred's highlights, right? And it's bloody, I'm talking about highlights here, man. Jesus. You look at Fred's highlights for Brazil in the past couple of games, and Fred looks like he can do that. Guys, after this video, go watch Fred's highlights for Brazil's recent games, and you're thinking to yourself, this guy's actually doing what we want from our DM. The problem is, for me, is I sort of look at it, rose-tinted lenses, because it's like, he is doing it against some stinkers, do you know what I mean? Like, there's some stinky players on the pitch when he's doing it, so it's probably not the most, it's not Premier League level, it's not the same sort of intensity as the Premier League, so that is a bit of a difficult one, but, do you know what I mean? It's there. What we need, and do you know what it is for me, guys? That is really scary. I don't have any coaching badges. Do you know what I mean? I don't have coaching badges. You probably don't have coaching badges, but it's glaringly obvious what we need. It is glaringly obvious what we're lacking. And yet, there seems to be no rush to go and solve that problem. It's like, I bet you, I genuinely bet you, that, Ed Woodward's probably had conversations with people higher up in Man United's, board, going, why can't Pogba play like that for us? I genuinely bet you they're having those kind of conversations where they're like, bloody hell, man, Pogba's so class for France. Like, he just doesn't put it on for us. Yeah, because you don't provide him with what he needs. Do you know what I mean? You don't seem to see what is lacking in our team that would help enable players like Pogba. But, you know, if I speak, I'm in big trouble. If I speak, I'm in big, big trouble. I appreciate all the support. Once again, smash a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think is the priority after the Sancho deal is done? Because it seems like that's going to be the sort of first, you know, big bit of business we get done. What is the priority? Is it further signings? Is it sorting out Pogba's situation? Is it sorting out the Lingard situation? Is it sorting out the goalkeeper situation? Is it selling players, right? Let me know in the comment section below, what is the priority after Sancho's deal is dealt with? And big up yourselves as well. Big up yourselves, everyone in the live chat watching the show live. It's always fun. It's always fun. Locatelli or Zakaria? I think Locatelli is the better player, and I think Locatelli has a brighter future. And so I'd be very tempted to take Locatelli, because I actually do think defensively he's quite good. I think he can put a good tackle in. And I think, you know, with the right coaching positionally, I don't think he'll have a problem, because he does play DM for Sassuolo anyway in the Serie A. And his passing ability is brilliant. Do you know what I mean? His passing ability is brilliant. He has great vision. So I'd take Locatelli over Zakaria, but at this point, I'd take either. Do you know what I mean? At this point, I'd take either. I think we just need somebody who can do that role, you know, a lot better. A lot better. Rice or Locatelli? You know what? It's weird, because I think a lot of people would probably say Rice. I think Rice can do that job well. Like, if you look at England's first game of the Euros, Rice literally did that job to a T. Do you know what I mean? He sat in front of the back line, he recycled possession, he got quick passes into the midfielders, you know, ahead of him, and that's what you need. So Rice can definitely do that job well. I think Locatelli probably has a bit more, you know, sort of flair and a bit more. I think Locatelli's probably a bit more of a talented footballer, but I think Rice has sort of shown he can do that in the Prem, and so maybe there's a bit more in that. But that's a difficult one. And I think you start to look at price tags, and it's like, if Rice is going to cost you that much, then maybe you go for Locatelli, because he can probably do a similar job for a much cheaper price. So we can get Ndidi because they bought Samare. You know what? I don't think that's really. I get where you're coming from with that. I do think the fact that they have somebody who clearly they're going to try and develop to become sort of like Ndidi, you know, means that maybe they are a bit more willing to let Ndidi go. Maybe they, you know, want that bit of a cash influx, but Ndidi's just going to cost you way too much. They're gonna slap like an 80 mil price tag on Ndidi. Do you know what I mean? They're gonna slap an 80 mil price tag on him, and that's just, you know, he's good and he'll do the role better than most people on earth, which is saying something. But yeah, that it is a bit pricey. It is a bit. Somebody with the name EA Sports to the game says, say my name. Interesting one there. Varane or Ramos? When it comes to Varane or Ramos, I think it's one of them ones where Varane is probably the better mold. Varane is the better mold of a player that we need. Someone who's, you know, big and physical but quite quick. Ramos brings a certain level of experience and a certain level of character to the team that is, you know, invaluable, some people could argue. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of invaluable what you get. But the problem with Ramos is that there's no longevity there, and that's my big issue. And that doesn't mean it's a net negative, right? Because you look at Cavani. Cavani came in, there's no longevity in Cavani. He's out after next season. But Cavani, to me, has been a net positive. He's come in, he's been able to be a positive influence to the likes of Greenwood, etc. He's scored some goals. You know, we love him as United fans. But, do you know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things, looking forward at the next 10 years, you know, we're not going to remember Cavani as being this guy that turned the club around, right? And I think Ramos would be similar, where Ramos would be here for a couple of years. It'd be great, but it wouldn't be like, there's just not much longevity there. Dexter says, big up to you, Levin. Good to see you here, mate. Yo, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. We all love doing the same thing. At the end of the day, we all love doing the same thing, talking about United, because we all care about the club. We all want to see the club do well. And where it hasn't been doing so well recently, it can be a bit painful sometimes. But you got to keep your chin up. Do you know what I mean? You got to keep your chin up, like I am. At 11, Ronaldo and Mbappe or Rice and Varane? What? I beg your pardon? What do you mean by that, bro? What? What do you mean by that? What kind of question is that, bro? Are you right? I'm getting a lot of read this, read that. Guys, come on, get the super chats in, and maybe I'll read stuff. Maybe I'll read stuff. Rice is overrated, nowhere close to Ndidi or Kante. I think he's sort of a different player in many ways. He's sort of a different player in many ways to those two. So I think the comparison, well, he's definitely a different player to Kante in many ways, but I also get you in the sense of, you know, I was never too hyped up about Rice, but I don't want to say he's overrated, because I've seen him do the job. What we want out of him, or what we would want out of him, I've seen him do that job well. So I know he can do it. Do you know what I mean? But I think where you probably feel was overrated because of the price tag that will be slapped on him. And in that sense, I can sort of see it, right? Because it's like, it's a massive sort of price tag, do you know what I mean? But I don't think we can sit in and act like Rice isn't a good player. You know, to be fair, he's not had a great game for England, but who did? So Pogba for Kroos and Varane. Once again, it's just like, one, I don't think that could get done, but, you know, there's just not much longevity there, in the sense of there's just not much that I think is, you know, both great players. Well, actually, for Varane, obviously, but Kroos, I just don't know. I'm not sure about Kroos at this stage in his career. He's class. He can put in great balls and he's class, but I'm just, yeah, I'm not too optimistic about bringing someone of his age into the club. Look, guys, it's been a pleasure. I think we're going to round things up here. Once again, let me know, what do you think is the priority beyond just Sancho, right? Beyond just Sancho, what is the priority? Further signings, dealing with the Pogba situation, dealing with Lingard, dealing with the goalkeepers, getting players out of the club. At the end of the day, right, we all just sitting here waiting for something to be done. It probably will have to be a long time with the Euros happening, but regardless, I'm looking forward to seeing what gets done. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, drop a comment. It's been Levin 2K. See you guys all soon.